Hi everyone, welcome to another live. I'm super excited to be here. So we're going to be talking about how to communicate at work without being ignored. So if you guys think back to some of your meetings or discussions and you're like, hey, I told my boss that, and he didn't listen or she didn't listen, and look at them now, they're implementing this solution that I had given them. How many of you have gone through that, where your voice and what you had to say was completely ignored and just not even taken into consideration? So you might be a little bit shocked in terms of what I'm about to tell you in terms of communication or communicating effectively without being ignored. So one of the first things, and this is all from, again, from experience and just having worked in these larger corporations with different personalities and individuals who may be hard at just listening and being able to take any kind of recommendations or suggestion. So one of the first things is that there are several different types of personalities that are at play within any corporation. So what do I mean by that, right? I mean, we have managers, we have program managers, and remember, they're all humans like we are. They have habits. They have certain habits that are good, certain habits that are bad. So whatever it is, we as either those as part of the team members or if we're managers, we need to understand the dynamic of the person that we're dealing with. And so what I'm going to suggest to you today are going to be concrete points in terms of how to communicate effectively so that you are paid attention to, regardless of the type of personality that you're potentially dealing with. And no one ever, when you read these blogs, no one ever talks about like the personalities at hand. It's always communicate in this way as if it's going to work. No, the human factor is the number one factor that we have to consider in how we communicate with others, because not everyone was brought up like we were. So tip number one, how do I communicate effectively so that I'm not ignored? You need to learn to listen more. Are you shocked? I didn't give you the first tip on how to communicate, did I? I said, learn to listen more. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they start a new job or they go in a meeting and they're like, I've worked on a project like this and I know exactly what to do. And let me go ahead and just throw up on this team about everything that I think needs to get done. So if you've ever felt that way, I need you to stop, because that's not really going to get you anywhere, nor is it going to get you respect. So one of the first things you need to do, if you are part of a new project, you've just started a new position, you are in a meeting where now you're like, okay, I need to reconstruct my communication skills, is to listen more. So you need to make sure that whenever you have this need to speak, write it down, and write it down in terms of a question. So definitely focus on how can I be a better listener with the concept of understanding. And part of being a good listener is, here's another bomb that I'm going to throw at you, is the ability to observe, right? You need to almost create this sixth sense of this, not, I don't want to call it like psychic abilities, but the ability to observe at this level that no one else can. And what do I mean by that? When you are listening effectively, that means also looking and watching people's behaviors. How are they speaking? What is their body posture? What's the tone like? What happens when people come together in a conference room and the connections, who they say hello to, who they don't say hello to, who's being ignored, who's the one person who's just at their conference table and they're not talking to anyone. Have you ever been to a meeting where you've seen people who are at the conference table and they're literally like there with their notebooks? They don't say hello and they don't really engage with anyone else. What is their problem? What's happened that they have been forced to shut down? right? So again, part of communication is to listen very effectively, but when you're listening is to also utilize your sixth sense of watching, your intuition of people's behaviors in these meetings. Because again, you know, part of what I'm teaching you is to be an A player. If you say to yourself, I don't think I want to do any of this, and I don't really want to be in an organization that you know, for too long, or whatever the case with me would be. This is for people who are saying to themselves, no, I want to make a name for myself. I want to be out there and I want to earn the top dollar. I want my network to know me in my niche, and I want my network to recognize me as this powerful being, right? And to do that, these are the skills that I'm teaching you. So again, listening, very important, using your sixth sense of observation and looking at the characteristics of each of these people and kind of just writing it down. John observed, he was hands off, didn't really ask a lot of questions, but he's a subject matter expert. What's going on? And really piecing things together and understanding before you say anything. Number 3, once you become comfortable in your team meetings, once you understand the scope of the project, you understand the dynamic of the team, you understand the psychology of each of those individuals and their ability to work as a team, and also and how they work individually. And then, so the third part of being able to communicate effectively is to start with asking questions. You're not going to go in there with recommendations. You're going to ask questions. And here's an example. Let me understand a little better. So what you're saying is that if we create the next backlog, we are prioritizing it based off of stakeholder X and Y's recommendation. I want to understand, why is it that that stakeholder is important? Or why is it that that particular stakeholder is part of backlog grooming for these requirements? So if you're in the agile field, you know what I'm talking about. But say in any other industry, you're in a meeting and there's a question, there's something that comes up and that just, you know, sparks your curiosity. You want to start with, hey, thank you so much for bringing that up. I was actually curious in terms of why is it that we're utilizing this tool, and how is that helping the project? Just want to understand it a little better. Thank you. Right? Again, you don't come off as someone who's aggressive, nor are you trying to implement your knowledge just yet. You're just asking questions, and I really recommend that you ask questions as much as you can at the beginning and listen and observe. So to be an amazing communicator is really using all of your senses so that people start respecting you. They're not going to see you as someone who just constantly throwing up this information. No, you're an expert, and you're going to show people your expertise at the time of need. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is, once you listen, and you listen some more, right, is the next part of it, right? Communicate with intention. Don't just communicate because you just want to say something in a meeting, but definitely say something in every meeting, whether that's, once you're comfortable, whether that's a question or a recommendation. So let me talk to you about communicating with the need to understand and with the need to be intentional in that meeting. And so what does that really mean? So once we've done our observation, we've really listened, now we understand the project, and we're going to go ahead and listen, not to necessarily give feedback, but to recommend something. So say you're in the field of project management or engineering, or you might be in marketing, and you have had years of experience, and someone recommends a particular tool, and you say, hey, you know what, Tara, that's actually a great tool, but based on my experience, do you think that this particular tool would help us with A, B, and C? And so now what Tara is doing is she's rethinking that tool, and she's really recognizing, are there any gaps? then this is your moment. This is your moment to shine. So what you're going to do is, once Tara's thinking and she's like, you know what, I really don't know. That's a really good question. Do you have any recommendations? So now what happens is that the table flips. Now the person is fully tentative in what you have to say next. You're no longer a loudmouth in a meeting who's just spitting information that people are going to ignore. Now the entire conference, the entire meeting, everyone is waiting to hear what you have to say. And what you're going to say is, my understanding is that there's a tool that I've actually utilized that I used in such and such way. Let's say this tool is Monday.com, which is actually a scheduling tool. Say, actually, Tara, I've utilized Monday.com. It's an amazing tool. Actually allows you to visually see the upcoming tasks and activities per project. Not only that, but you can actually share dashboards between team members. And what I heard you say is one of the things that we're missing here in our team is the ability for the team to understand what they're working on and when it's due. Is that correct? And Tara's going to be like, whoa, Majuba, yes, that's exactly it. How do I get this tool? Do they have an enterprise version of it? And then now, guess what happened? You're the expert, and now you are going to manage your own project as part of this organization. And if anyone needs anything about project scheduling, they're going to come to you. So we flipped the table. We flipped the table where now you're being listened to. You're not being ignored because you learned to speak at a time that was more, that was timely, and it was more effective, and people want to hear what you have to say versus you just being part of the conversation, right? And then always remember that when you go to meetings, one of the tips that I can give you is always come with a question, a clarifying question that you can ask in a non-combative way. What do I mean? Attacking a subject matter expert, or putting your project manager out there, right? Or throwing the organization under the bus. So knowing how to communicate is also important, because a lot of times when we use combative words, or our body language is in a certain way, guess what? People are going to shut down. They're not going to listen to you. So as much as you're communicating and using your eyes, you're using your ears, you're using your mouth in a very constructive manner, and what it is that you have to say that people are listening to you. At the same time, watch for your body language, that you're not tensed up like this, and that you're not like what is this person talking about, right? Or you're going like this, or that you are just like writing on your notebook. Be sure that you're doing eye contact. Be sure that you do your part of joining the meeting 2 to 3 minutes earlier so you can network with your team and communicate and understand who they are. And that you're not, if you're in a team face-to-face meeting, that you stay a little longer and you go talk to the person who didn't say hello to anyone. You go talk to the person who seems like they've shut down and say, hey John, look, I've been seeing you kind of sit here past few days and not really say anything. And I know that you're one of our engineers on the team, and you're pretty valuable. Can you kind of help me understand what your role is, or how you think this project's going? And I bet you anything, that person that you're going to go talk to, who isn't talking to anyone else, who feels less valued, is going to spit all this fire, let you know what's going on. Hopefully not by not throwing anyone under the bus, but they're going to give you information that you need for you to be successful. But knowing that, don't take John's energy and don't now say, oh my God, I'm in this terrible organization. Why did I get a job here? No, you want to take what John says, this person who's completely cut themselves off from the team and is probably looking for another job. You're going to get information that will be so valuable for you in order to help your project team. Right? Not to go find another job, but to help your project team become more successful, or be a team member who can make well-rounded decisions and ask well-rounded questions. And whatever, no matter what happens, always ask for, meeting minutes. action items, risk registers, quality management plans, project management plans. Those are things that you definitely need to review so that you have a full scope and understanding of what this project's all about, because that is the only way. Unless if you don't understand your project, you're not going to be able to communicate, and all of the what's happening will just look like a big blur to you. So that's what I wanted to tell all of you guys. Again, I'm going to go over the steps, how to communicate without being ignored. 1, listen more. 2, definitely do your part of observation to watch the dynamics of what's going on in a meeting. Number 3, start with asking questions without making someone look like they're not smart or that they won't be able to answer it, right? Just because when you're trying to make the first impression, you don't want to create enemies. Number 4, listen some more, right? Number 4, communicate with the need to understand versus to speak back or say something. And number 7, be sure that you are fully informed about the project. Look at the risk register, look at the issues log, look at the quality management plan, understand who your stakeholders are. And so all of that is part of being an effective communicator, so that you're not ignored and you're not asking these questions where you could have gone and found information on your own. Let me know if you're watching this on replay. Also, let me know if you're here what you thought of this training. Again, the purpose is for me to be very authentic and clear with you, give you information that other experts may give you in bits and pieces, and really speak on things from a full circle, so that you have an understanding of how it fits within your career, and utilize some of these tools right away so that people know that you are no joke, that you're an A player, and that you're here to actually do the work and make an impact. So thank you again for watching. I'll see you guys next week.